So Jennifer Gova, right? So I saw, is it still okay for me to send to you? Yes, please. Here you go. And then nothing, right? Let's say that might have been when you were first getting started. So like, maybe that's okay. And then I think, like I say, I think we had this conversation because then you asked her how long you been in the accounting field for. She told you how long she was in. Nice. How did it go? Busy season, blah, 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 blah. I see what inspired you want the replay links since you're not working right now. Okay, that was good. And the next time that you sent her the thing that said, here's the new link, then,
I remember saying that.
huh?
I don't remember saying that.
So what?
Hmm.
Which part do you not remember? Here's the new
I
link.
never said inspired.
I know that's probably because I probably came behind you and said it then.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
I'm never saying inspired.
Yeah. So then I might have seen that you didn't ask the question. I actually did. That's even highlighting the point even more,
Hmm.
which is probably why you don't know to do this because I'm the one who's been doing it for you. So here's then you did it again. Like here's a new link. They said, hey, I saw you commented on the documents. It's still okay for me to send it to you. So I guess you basically restarted the conversation, but again, you missed a question afterward, right? This person said, yes, please. Thank you. Send it to me. You send the document, but then there was no question. So you're really at the mercy of these people even saying thank you because they don't say thank you. They're gone forever, right? And then the week after you said, hello, have you had a chance to use a guide yet? And that's a question. So that's a good thing, right? But that was after that's the new messages you're sending. But we had to, that's what I'm saying. Like you have to be on point for all these conversations. Like it's not just about trying hard. It's a mixture of trying hard, but when you have an opportunity in front of you, capitalize on the opportunity as well as you possibly can. That way you don't have to work as hard because you won't need to send as many messages because you'll be getting more calls than what you are now.
It was just about following up after I sent something.
No, no, it's about asking what, it's about.
Oh, that's what I mean. It sound like that.
When you say follow-up, that means after you send something, you're following up with them. What I'm talking about is when you send it, here's the link, finish with a question. Then later on, you can follow up again. But everything has to end with call to action. You wanna jump on the phone, and Bryce is gonna write down a couple of questions that you can ask, follow up and ask. Right?
Yeah, he has those already. No, it's basically comes down to pay attention to the little details that you already know you're supposed to do.
All right.
Right, Ian?
You said what?
He has one. Maybe going over your checklist to make sure that you've covered everything that you should.
Okay.
But that big thing about finishing with a call to action, finishing with a question is very important.
You've seen the okay. So it's almost like and then you've cut this out pretty well, like the how are things going on your end? Oh no, the how is your progress coming along? That's the one thing that I know you've started cutting out. And it wouldn't be that bad, it's just not specific. What progress, where in life? It's kind of creepy just coming out of nowhere. This random person on the internet just asking me what's yeah, very specific. Do you have any specific questions? It's a stupid question. People are answering. That's a stupid question. I hate that question.
So what?
I said that people are answering that. Do you have any questions you like me to answer? Valerie said that, but she doesn't really know everything she's talking about. I don't like that question. It doesn't move the conversation forward.
Hmm.
Let's see. Uh, yeah. As well. Who's Jennifer Hart? But that'd be ideal. feel like I've been talking to Jennifer for a long time. So following up with this lady. What? So remember there. Um. Okay. So I've been following up with her for a long time, Jennifer. So what's been slowing us down from working together? Okay, so let me go inside of my closed notes. Um, I do not have this inside of our leads. Give me some. Well, okay, that's never moved. What's been go? So that's a little bit, but this one's a kind of special message. Hmm. So keep in mind, like it's not that you're doing a bad job, like you're doing a good job. This is a very hard skill set to get really good at. Um, it's just yeah, but just little things like the things that grow the business are not these like massive like we book 5,000 calls. It's more like we just do the right things, we do it correctly each and every time, and then we just run into enough people that want to work with us, and that's really what gets it. But it's just like you're causing yourself to have to work a lot harder because you're not fully finishing your process and hitting it each time.
So instead of saying, do you need help with anything, what should I say?
We're not even at that part yet. I'm just saying every time you send a guide, make sure you ask a question.
What's the question that he should ask when he sends the guideline?
That's what
Well, that's what you're asking?
well, because I started sending that. Is there anything you need help with? I started saying this.
After someone asks for a guide, you know the question to ask. You've done it before, you just haven't done it.
What's the question?
Well, usually it's how long have you been in the accounting field, but if they already answered that,
Okay.
I can't, I how the progress is coming along.
Well,
It's,
why don't
what
you
are you
not?
helping to get from God?
See, you didn't.
What did you say?
What are you hoping to get from this guide?
Oh, so you do know the answer now.
You thinking?
Well,
Are you thinking? Yeah. If you have nothing else to ask them why they wanted the guide or what are they most hoping to learn from the guide.
all right.
That's what I'm saying. So you do know exactly what to say, but it's I don't know how to describe it. What do you think is causing you not to hit that? Is it just you get confused, you just move on, or is it mental laziness?
Well, I do see, I should ask after that about the guide, but if it's somebody I haven't even spoke to in a while, and they didn't even answer the first message of how long have you been in the accounting field, and that's the whole conversation.
Okay, no, but we've looked at 3 examples where they keep asking for more guides. You give them the new guide. Oh, so you're saying since they didn't answer your first question, not going to answer your second question?
Well, those are different things. There's the guide, and then there's the people I haven't spoke to. You're asking
We're,
specifically for
we're
the guide.
talking specifically for the guide.
All right,
Because if you do the guide question right and we do it over and over again, you don't need to follow up with that many people. What we're saying is if you do a good job the first time you talk to somebody, or whenever they opt in for the guide, that's your highest percentage that you'll get them to book a call. When you do these random follow-ups with someone who hasn't reached out in a while, that one's a lower chance of them getting on the phone because they're not interested at that moment. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Mom, or no?
I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
So he's basically trapped. He's focused. He's hyper focusing on what do I say to people who I haven't spoken to in a while, following up with people.
Right.
What I'm saying is, if you do a good enough job when you send someone a guide the first time, you won't need to follow up with as many people because you'll be getting them on the phone.
Right.
That's what
So
you're missing.
you can't just send something without asking for something back.
all right.
Everything that you do basically has to end with a question that's not a yes or no. Right? We want them to respond back to you. We want them to feel compelled to respond back to you. Right? If it's something that you ask them a question, yes or no, that's not really interacting, right? Or if you just give them what they want and you're hoping that they say thank you, what if they don't come back and say thank you? Then you really have nothing to go back, right?
Well, no, then you have to follow up, which is what you're getting caught in. You have to follow. You right now are having to follow up with a lot of people
Mm.
because you're not asking that question to keep that conversation alive. If you were to ask the question and keep the conversation alive with like 5 to 10 more people a week, you'd probably get 2 to 3 more phone calls booked every week. But when you don't look at the details and you don't finish the job when they ask for the guide, now you're having to work way harder because you have to keep following up with 1 million people.
So
Do it right the
So I-
first time.
I'd say, what are you hoping to get out of this?
Out of the guide.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's either how long you been in the county field or what are you hoping to get out of the guide?
all right,
And if you do it right the first time, you won't need to follow up with 1 million people. Because there won't be 1 million people you need to follow up with because they would have already been on the phone call.
all right. Because saying that, they'll say what their problem is.
Mm-hmm. Or they might not respond to anything. That's okay. And then you can follow up. It's just like we can't control what they're going to say back to us. We just have to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to do things correctly to give them the opportunity to answer our question.
All right,
That's it.
Mm.
Do you have any questions, Ian? Like, what questions should you be asking? Do you have that written down in your book? Do you need to transfer those notes to the book that you currently have? What I do sometimes is that when I have something that I keep referencing back, I have a page in the front of my book. And every time I change books, I cut that page out and put it in front of the next book. Do you think that maybe we should do that? The list of questions that you should ask?
Seems like there's really 3 questions when it comes to.
Print it out. Please, Bryce. See, that's kind of what Bryce is saying, is that you're kind of getting hung up in those 3 questions. And there really are more than 3 questions, depending on what the person is coming back with. Okay?
Yeah.
So at first, you were simply just following directions. Now we're looking for you to start getting creative and start really listening to what it is that they're saying. And then respond to that. You can still use the things that Bryce, the comments and the questions that Bryce had, but now you gotta use them tactfully.
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 You have to figure out when is the right. Both. So you have to figure out when is the right time to ask that question, and what is the right way to ask that question. We want you to be a great salesperson when you get done working on this stuff, right?
Right.
So. Are you sure you don't want this match?
Is it easier to match them?
About either, it's texture, because I'm having macaroni and cheese, which are little things. Do you want texture? That's all that is.
Not really.
Yeah, sorry, Russ.
Wait, are you saying sorry?
Sorry for what?
You're not doing anything bad. What we're trying to do now is like, you're good enough to like help someone make like 10, 20 grand a month. We're trying to get it to where you can help someone make like 50. So it's not that you're doing anything bad.
We're all learning and we're all increasing.
Yeah.
Ian. So no, you didn't do anything wrong.
Unfortunately, since you're coming into an already successful organization, you're having to learn this stuff a lot faster than most people are.
Yeah.
Like I teach inside of this one training program by this guy named Trey, and all of his students out of the program, like they have to learn the stuff from scratch, but it can take them, 3 months, 6 months, a year before they even start booking 1 call a week. You're booking 1 to 2 calls a day, and you've only been at it for about 2 months. So you are having to learn, however many months you are, but you are having to learn a lot faster.
And you're doing a good job. You're doing well with what you're doing. We just want you to get to a point where, Ian, we're looking at $1 million business. We're not looking at a $10,000 business anymore. So that's why we want you to come and be part of the $1 million business. We can't leave you behind. So in order to do things to the next level, you can't do things exactly the same. You gotta keep learning. You gotta keep getting better. That's all this is all about. When I leave my job and will come working with Bryce, you think he's gonna be talking to me the same way that he's talking to me now?
No.
He's gonna be riding me the way he rides you. Because he knows more about this stuff than we do.
What exactly considered riding?
Well, you just said sorry, so obviously you
Well-
thought he was riding you.
It's not.
So do you understand? This is about getting better. This is about going to the next level. We want this to be $1 million business, so we can go and buy $1 million house down in Florida without thinking about it. Right?
Yeah.
We got plans. We're not staying in the same place. See, you're used to apologizing, right? And you didn't even do anything wrong. That's how the enemy tricks you. Beats you up for doing something that you did not do wrong.
This guy reached out to us a minute ago. His name is Ryan. He goes, He has this huge email list that he's like sending out to because he's like trying to he has a bunch of job seekers he's teaching how to do bookkeeping as like a side hustle. So then I was like, okay, you want to talk about how we can work together? He goes, I'm just starting. In the past, I just send them career advice and job alerts. I have 3 million people who have opened at least one email from me in the past 90 days. I send 30 million emails a month to them with a 45% open rate. What? I was like, the F word? 30 million? How are you able to deliver that many?
44? No.
Well, the